When you talk about faith, there are three things that I see, the three words that they come along, and people always say inspiration, revelation, or desperation. One of those three leads you eventually to faith.
Yeah.
In your particular case, was that more than one, or which one was the most predominant?
I would say without a shadow of a doubt, it was desperation, but also an ultimatum. I used to hear people say, "Oh yeah, I heard from God. I heard God's voice." And I used to think that was silly. In fact, up until 2020, I believed in God, but dude, I wasn't a follower of Jesus or anything. I thought it was all kind of silly and funny. And it just got to a point where I had created so much success, but I wasn't fulfilled. And there was a lot of stuff that I was hiding from my wife that was just eating me alive on the inside. Things that I had done early on into our marriage that were just entirely unacceptable. And there was a point where, and I'll just be completely vulnerable, where as a man, I felt like a complete loser. I felt like my wife deserved a better husband. I believed that there was another man that was supposed to be in my home raising my kids. I felt that my kids should have deserved a better dad because I wasn't walking the talk back then. And one night in 2020, you got COVID and all this crazy stuff going on. I started getting these thoughts of I don't deserve to live. So it was these suicidal thoughts, and I could push it away. I could be like, "Oh, that's stupid," and then it would come back. And it would be these little impulse things. And then once those thoughts turned into "Hey, wait a minute. What if you did kill yourself? Where would you do it so the kids couldn't walk in and find your body? How could you do it so it wasn't messy?" Once that shifted, I was like, what the heck is going on in my mind right now? I'm this high energy guy, successful, all this stuff on the outside. You look at our social media, life is great. We've got all the smiling, happy photos. But on the inside, when I was by myself, I'm like, this sucks, man. I'm not being the man I'm supposed to be. So maybe I shouldn't be here, right? So when those thoughts shifted to planning, maybe I should take my life. There was a night I was laying in bed and, I would pray every now and then, but I prayed that night and I meant it. I really prayed and I'm like, take this pain away. What do I need to do? It's like a surrender moment, and I didn't even really know what that was. And I heard this voice and it was not my voice. And it said, confess, repent, and tell Lauren everything. I heard it. And I was like, that was weird. Okay. So the next morning I wake up and I looked over at Lauren and I said, "Hey," I think we need to have a conversation today. I'm going to go drop the kids off at my parents' house so we can talk. And we went to a local nature preserve. So we were out in the woods and we're walking on this trail. And I said, "I've got to tell you some stuff that is really hard for me to get off my chest." I said, "And I also want to let you know ahead of time that I respect any choice that you make after I tell you what I need to tell you." And that's when I sat down and I told her all the bad stuff that I had done early on into our marriage. And the infidelity and the lies. And I asked for forgiveness. So it was I had to surrender everything. I had to be willing to lose it all. I mean, I honestly thought there was a real chance that she was going to want a divorce and I'm not going to see my kids that much anymore. And the business would fall apart, right? That's what I honestly thought. And she forgave me. So I have this momentary lapse of wow, I experienced forgiveness and I experienced what I would deem as unconditional love because I just said some crazy stuff to her. And I felt this momentary like release, like all the pressure, like I could breathe again, like years of just holding stuff in. I could breathe, right? And she looks at me and she goes, I have to tell you some stuff too. And then she told me what she had done. And so it went from like sigh of relief to like, oh God, I was betrayed too. And that was a lot to deal with in that moment, as you could imagine. And I said, look, I forgive you. We're going to work through this. I don't want a divorce. And she agreed. She's like, I don't want one either. And as we were walking out of that trail to go back home, I heard God again. And he says, get your family home or I'm taking everything away from you. And he wasn't talking about go home, like go to my house. He was saying go to church. And that's when we started going back. And I look back at that process, man, and it was like just one powerful level up every single time. I mean, just to the point where Lauren and I were able to go, hey, let's sit down and have conversations about things we've never shared with anybody about our childhood. You know, and that's when she opened up about how she was molested when she was 7 and she was raped in a parking lot at age 16 by some random guy that was breaking into cars. Like violent, okay? Like the definition of a violent rape happened to her. And I just sobbed, like just broke down because even though her and I had hurt each other, I was able to see the little girl again in her. Mm. And she was able to see that little boy that was in me, where I was never good enough. My biological dad had left. You know, my parents got divorced, and that took a huge impact out. So I overcompensated. How do you overcompensate? You make more money, right? But that wasn't the answer. I had to heal from those wounds. So, man, it's like going down that level of transparency allowed for us to heal. And it started with a prayer, and literally, I believe I heard God. Like, I'm curious if it wasn't God, I'm curious what I heard then. And that's part of our testimony.
That's amazing, man. Thank you so much for sharing that.